There are places where the ground stops being just soil and turns into an archive of strange stories that were never meant to be shown to the world. Every time something is brought to the surface, it feels as if the past is slightly irritated, reluctantly giving up what was long supposed to remain lost. And that's where things get interesting. Familiar explanations stop working, and questions appear faster than answers. Today is exactly about those moments when a discovery breaks logic, sends chills down your spine, and forces you to rethink everything you thought you understood about the world around you. Imagine the faces of these treasure hunters. They were digging ordinary soil, and instead of rusty junk, they stumbled upon a whole pile of gold bars. And discoveries like this actually happen more often than people think. You look at these mysterious figures in the middle of a forest clearing, and the questions only multiply. Who created them, when, and why remains unknown, but the atmosphere there is undeniably unsettling. This plane once disappeared after crashing in a completely remote area, and now its rusted remains lie in silence as a reminder that nature slowly erases even the largest human machines. Many horror filmmakers would give anything for a location like this. An old bunker where brutal human experiments once took place still looks as if time deliberately stopped there. An American diver published footage of a car at great depth, and the video immediately caused concern. The vehicle had been there for a long time, and the surroundings suggested a troubling story. Looking at this footage, it's hard to believe such a place really exists. It feels like people accidentally stepped into a post-apocalyptic movie set where life vanished without explanation. After restoration, the Pelican 16 was prepared for a new chapter of its life, but fate had other plans. During its first flight to England, the aircraft made an emergency landing and has since been left to rust in isolation. The Naka Cave in Thailand looks as if a giant snake has been frozen inside the mountain. The rock formations truly resemble scales, which is why the place is surrounded by myths and legends. The man was simply surveying the area with a metal detector when the device suddenly led him to an old safe. Inside were an 1851 revolver, coins, and artifacts, as if someone had hidden them just yesterday. But we all understand how much time has actually passed. It seems this guy's metal detector was truly working on legendary luck, because finding a real pot of gold underground isn't just a rare discovery, it's the kind of event that's hard to believe at first. Now imagine scientists entering a cave and realizing that humans might not have been the first intelligent beings on Earth. Imagine walking through a park. People are calmly relaxing, and suddenly you see a human frozen inside a block of ice. It was later revealed to be an artwork by artist Zach Schumacher, who clearly knows how to surprise people. The former homeowner clearly trusted walls more than people. During renovation, builders discovered an old jar filled with coins and banknotes that had quietly waited for decades. A surprisingly beautiful piece of jewelry with what looks like a precious stone was found underground. And the most intriguing part isn't even the object itself, but the story of the person who once decided to hide it there. After footage like this, you start looking at any abandoned building with suspicion, and even more so, you start searching for something unusual inside them. The coolest cars are sometimes not found in showrooms, but under thick layers of dust and old hangars. This forgotten car clearly survived several eras and now looks like a time capsule on wheels. Archaeologists were stunned when they uncovered a burial where a person still had rings and bracelets on their bones. Nearby were boxes filled with treasures, suggesting this was someone of great importance in life. Under the mansion of a former cartel leader, two massive safes were discovered deep underground. Inside were weapons, jewelry, codes, and notes, as if the owner was preparing for a final game until the very end. In the sands of the Chinese desert stands a ship that looks like a set piece from a pirate legend. In a scorching desert, a researcher suddenly stumbled upon an abandoned military airbase where a supersonic bomber had been rusting for decades. It looks like it survived the apocalypse. Sometimes archaeologists literally peel back the earth and history starts speaking for itself. At this site, so many artifacts were found that the excavation instantly became a sensation. Divers in Arizona went underwater for a routine dive and instead found a statue of Jason Voorhees at the bottom of a lake. This eerily realistic figure has now become a local legend and a strange tourist attraction. Even experienced geologists fell silent for a few seconds. During excavations, people discovered almost 50 kilograms of gold ore. The rocks with bright golden veins looked like they were made for a movie set. Among rusted structures, people suddenly discovered a giant Energia M rocket like a forgotten fragment of the space age. Deep in Russian swamps, a crashed Mi-4 helicopter has been lying for 40 years, and from above, it looks especially haunting. Its rusting frame in dark water creates a mystery no one can ignore. A simple stone sat in an elderly woman's home for 45 years until it was discovered to contain a perfectly preserved prehistoric fossil, a real message from a world that disappeared millions of years ago. Builders had no idea that beneath the ground lay an entire World War II museum. After discovering T-34 tanks and old ammunition, the site was immediately secured by bomb squads, military, and historians. A traveler simply stepped off a forest path and suddenly saw a strange doll-like statue in a dark robe among the trees. This old ship seems forever stuck between time and nature. Its hull is covered in thick moss, the wood has blackened from moisture, and its only permanent passengers are birds and silence. Finding an ancient sword underground is already incredible luck, but holding it in your hands is a completely different feeling. In moments like this, you realize just how many lives were once decided by such weapons. When a 66-foot-long skeleton towers above you, it becomes genuinely unsettling. The Caribbean Sea has once again proven that pirate stories didn't come from nowhere. Divers found a treasure chest from a sunken ship on the seabed. Inside were jewels, coins, and centuries-old artifacts. Researchers accidentally discovered a Soviet bunker hidden inside a hillside. Inside were armored doors, chain barriers, and ventilation systems, yet it looks as if it was sealed just yesterday. These pteroglyphs on a steep cliff look like a message sent across millennia. Scientists believe an ancient civilization may have recorded a catastrophe that changed their world over 2,000 years ago. Treasure hunters expected to find only fragments, but the ground suddenly revealed old jars filled with coins, rings, and spearheads. Such a find could rewrite the history of an entire era. Sometimes a single random discovery looks like a full movie scene. A vintage Morris near a burned mansion stands so atmospherically that it feels like the owners just left a few hours ago, but time has not been kind to it. In Florida, a place was discovered that looks like a giant forgotten billionaire's garage, rare vehicles left to gather dust. The strangest part is that no one has come to reclaim them. At first, it looks like the skull of a giant crocodile, but the shape immediately breaks that assumption. It also doesn't match any known marine species. So, what is it? The stone spheres of Costa Rica look so strange and perfect that wild theories still surround them. In Puerto Rico, you can relax on the beach and suddenly notice an old M4 Sherman tank right by the water. In the silence of a desert lies a railway depot from the nitrate boom era, filled with old steam locomotives. Once it was full of life, now metal rusts in complete isolation. Once, the owners deliberately dumped these cars into a canyon, hoping to get rid of them forever. But years later, the metal rusted away, and nature turned the car graveyard into a strange monument of a forgotten era. Old wells can hold secrets just as well as safes. No one even suspected that from the bottom they would raise a rusty find that had spent so many years underwater that it had literally become part of time. In Arctic snowfields, old missiles, weapons, and military equipment from past conflicts are still being found, and each discovery looks as if the past refuses to fully disappear. In remote Sakhalin, researchers discovered an abandoned Soviet air base with 2 rusting fighters and an old communications bunker. The regiment was long disbanded, but the equipment was left to decay in silence. The surface of the water sometimes hides creatures so strange that you begin to question biology itself. In India, fishermen caught a fish with such a disturbing appearance, it looks like a failed experiment. The real tension began not at the entrance, but deeper inside a forest stone tunnel. Darkness, scattered clothing, and empty corridors created the feeling that people left in a hurry, and not willingly. Since 1951, this painting was believed to have been permanently lost from the Baltimore Museum of Art, and suddenly, the valuable masterpiece surfaced at a regular flea market as if it had decided to reappear on its own. When archaeologists unearthed a massive skull with strange horns, debate erupted instantly. The find looked so unusual that scientists now face a long investigation into what it actually belonged to. Some discoveries are valuable not because of gold or rarity, but because of the history they carry through the decades. This old metal has long been stored in a box, but once it meant the entire world to someone. Sometimes archaeologists uncover not just old objects, but real fragments of time. Such finds are immediately sent to museums because their value is measured not in money, but in human history. During excavations in Argentina, archaeologists discovered giant bones of ancient creatures that once roamed these lands. Scientists are now trying to determine which dinosaur species dominated the region millions of years ago. When buying an apartment, people usually expect old furniture or odd renovations at most. But sometimes, a hidden stash of money can be found behind the walls, left there by a previous owner. On an old British farm, nature is already taking over machinery. Excavators, tractors, and loaders are slowly being swallowed by moss and grass. The Earth sometimes preserves secrets far longer than human memory. During excavations, researchers discovered an ancient burial filled with treasures, clearly indicating a highly influential person was laid to rest there. The deep sea preserves stories that send chills down your spine. Divers constantly find strange objects on the ocean floor, and sometimes a single rusty discovery can reveal more about tragedy than any archive. At first glance, it looks like an entrance to some unknown cave with fantastical walls. But the illusion disappears once you learn the truth. It's an abandoned glass factory. Still, incredibly beautiful. For nearly 2,700 years, this sculpture lay beneath Iraqi soil, hidden from human eyes and time. These astonishing formations lay underground for thousands of years, as if nature intentionally hid them from human eyes. Their perfect shapes look too precise to be random. People bought a piggy bank at a flea market, not suspecting it held a real surprise. 8 bundles of money, each containing exactly $2,028, an unexpected stroke of luck. Sometimes an ancient sword raises more questions than answers. Why would someone bury a weapon so deep? Perhaps its owner already knew dangerous people might one day come for him. A random passerby in the forest suddenly spotted an old training aircraft among the trees. Over the years, nature has literally grown into the fuselage, making it seem like the forest has accepted it as part of itself. A French World War II-era tank blended so perfectly into nature that it was barely noticed among the overgrowth. And yet this rusty machine once struck fear on the battlefield with its mere presence. They say this chest of 20th century jewelry belonged to smugglers. One day, a 427-foot-long giant skeleton appeared on the French coast. Yes, it was an art installation, but it looked so realistic that people began recalling legends of ancient giants. In 1935, such a dagger symbolized status and military elite, a massive hilt, imperial eagle, and a perfectly recognizable silhouette. Today, this artifact rests silently behind glass as part of history. A man was walking along the seashore with a metal detector when it suddenly signaled. Beneath the sand lay a chain with a cross, a pleasant find for one person and a painful loss for another. Beneath a thick layer of soil, crystals of such beauty were hidden that it feels like they were intentionally concealed from humans for thousands of years. Looking at the remains of this marine creature, the mind struggles to accept what it sees. In 2020, archaeologists in Saqqara found 27 sarcophagi over 2,500 years old. It's one of the most sensational discoveries in recent years. In the Libyan desert, you can find incredibly rare Libyan desert glass. It has astonishing strength, and its age is nearly 30 million years. These guys aren't worried that the video is being recorded and everyone will find out. The value of such treasures can reach millions. At an abandoned factory, a guy found an entire collection of old, expensive cars. Let's hope he moves them to safety. Time capsule cars like this keep being discovered in different countries. You could spend decades in a secret cave like this, but who was it meant for? While diving at Preston Hill, one diver spotted an Audi 80 Sport from the 80s. Michael Gherkin and his team dove down to the sunken liner Heian Maru, launched back in 1930. This 160-meter-long ship could carry 300 passengers and was later converted for military use. The guys accidentally discovered a Porsche Boxster in the woods, which had been sitting there for more than 2 years. Where the owner went remains a mystery. The car will be restored and most likely sold at auction. While walking along a frozen river, a man noticed something strange near the shore. It turned out to be an abandoned yacht. Despite the neglect, it was well preserved, the hull intact and the interior almost in order. With a little care, it could sail again. During a dive, divers found a real tank on the seafloor that once belonged to King Abdullah. Now this metal giant is part of the underwater world and attracts mystery lovers. About 80 years have passed since World War II, but this constructed pillbox will remain for a long time to come. This stone lay around as an ordinary building material for a long time. Only later did people discover ancient runes on it, telling of important myths and battles from Norse history. During excavations, archaeologists found a skeleton with an astonishing piece of jewelry: a necklace with 2 snakes coiled around the neck and a bracelet featuring the same mysterious creatures. In ancient Egypt, snakes symbolized royal power, and it is believed that this person belonged to a noble lineage. A group of Greek divers made an incredible discovery. They found the British submarine Perseus, which sank in 1941. It lay at a depth of 52 meters between the islands of Kefalonia and Zakynthos after hitting an Italian mine. Old swamps hold many secrets. This giant has clearly been standing here for decades. Buying secondhand furniture can sometimes bring surprising discoveries. A casual walk through the forest turned into a lucky find. The guys discovered an old Suzuki, which they'll definitely restore.
And how do you like such a twist? To be honest, I can't do without your comments here.
At the bottom of the sea lies a huge cargo ship full of equipment and weaponry. Among the contents, cars, airplane parts, armored vehicles, and even several old steam locomotives. A real treasure for underwater explorers.
There are things that are absolutely impossible to believe, and how could this even happen?
At first glance, it looks like deforestation, but in reality, it's the result of a powerful tornado. Only one house remains standing, as if nature spared it by chance. Workers in Austria unearthed a massive stone. It feels like nature itself tried to sculpt it into an art object. Its size and shape are truly impressive. Off the coast of New Jersey in 2013, 2 antique locomotives were found. Experts believe they sank in the mid-19th century during a storm. The guy accidentally found an old military equipment graveyard. Just imagine the impressions they'll get. The Paterak Cave is one of France's natural wonders. As you descend underground, you'll enter a world of subterranean rivers, stalactites, and vast chambers. This abandoned hotel, lost in the jungle, looks like it's straight out of an adventure movie. An ancient city hidden among the rocks, this is Mesa Verde in the USA. An incredible place where you can still see the homes of the ancestral Puebloans carved right into the canyon walls. A Lockheed TriStar aircraft was submerged off the coast of Aqaba to create an artificial reef. Now it attracts divers from all over the world. This video shows something that seriously puzzled divers. A treasure hunter found a gold watch worth $50,000. Now that's luck! Salina Turda in Romania is not just a mine, but a whole underground complex. Founded back in Roman times, it was a source of salt, and now it attracts tourists with unique attractions and mesmerizing views. A true underground wonder. Such was the fate of Questor 1, the first civilian mini-submarine intended for diving. Just 36 years ago, this weapon was in active use, and now it's slowly rusting away. These people are true heroes, as an unexploded World War II bomb poses a serious threat. The Earth can hide things as if it never wants to give them back. But once archaeologists carefully bring such a statue to the surface, an entire lost world suddenly appears before their eyes, sometimes in very strange forms. Marine archaeologists recovered a massive anchor nearly 13 feet long from the seabed, where it had rested for over 3 centuries. Just imagine how many storms and battles this giant piece of metal endured. Hunting for fossils sometimes feels like stepping into a prehistoric world. This megalodon tooth lay underground for around 10 million years, and the thought of what creature it once belonged to is genuinely unsettling. Someone once feared losing this gold so much that they hid it deep and securely. But time reveals even the most carefully hidden secrets, and eventually the treasure was discovered by strangers. This discovery quickly turned into a real investigation. A heavy safe was pulled from the bottom of a lake, and inside were a loaded gun and stacks of water-damaged cash. The question is obvious: who tried to hide this forever? If such an unusual object truly existed inside a rock, the place would instantly become a global hotspot. Engineers, scientists, and explorers would arrive immediately. The Imperial Fabergé egg made of gold in 1917 for the Romanov dynasty survived revolution and the fall of an empire. Today, it is kept in the Fabergé Museum in St. Petersburg as a symbol of a vanished era. Imagine people's reaction when a footprint nearly 4 feet long was discovered in stone. Too large for a human, too strange to be accidental. After such finds, legends about giants don't seem so far-fetched anymore. If such a rock with a mysterious entrance truly existed, tourists and researchers would already be lining up. Places like this instantly become surrounded by legends and theories. After heavy rains in the UAE, the desert sometimes reveals strange sights. Luxury cars half buried in dunes. It looks as if someone simply got tired of a supercar and abandoned it. A man was walking through the forests of Massachusetts with a metal detector when a signal led him to an old rusty container. Inside was a real treasure, coins, jewelry, and items with a long history. Some discoveries evoke not fear or awe, but awkward curiosity. Judging by this strange sculpture, its creator was clearly too inspired by the human form and imagination. Workers were tearing up an old brick floor when they suddenly discovered a hidden underground tunnel. But the strangest part came later. No one dared to look inside, as if the place itself was pushing people away. Deep in the forest, a crashed aircraft was found among the trees decades after the accident. The cockpit looks eerily empty, the metal is heavily corroded, and nature is slowly turning the wreck into part of the forest. Sometimes random finds in the ground seem harmless at first glance, but later you realize each object had a function you'd rather never uncover, especially when reconstructing its historical context. It's hard to imagine the kind of facility where the military encountered this creature, but the reaction says everything: shock and instant silence. Sometimes reality looks like something that shouldn't exist at all. Garage sales sometimes produce unbelievable surprises. Among old boxes, a Mustang GT with a powerful V8 suddenly appeared, a true legend, forgotten and gathering dust. A bit sad for such an icon of speed. After military actions, this old weapon was left standing under camouflage, slowly rusting and turning into a haunting silhouette. Now it looks more like a ghost of the past, forgotten in nature. Locals avoid this boat as if it belongs to someone else's history. It appeared in the forest without tracks or explanation, and no one has ever been able to determine who it belonged to, as if nature itself refused to reveal its origin. Steep cliffs always look as if they hide something more than just rock. No one truly knows what tunnels or cavities may exist behind these walls, adding a real sense of mystery to the place.
And our episode has come to an end, and we hope that you enjoyed watching this video. We look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you for always being with us.